camera's going to go first. So hi, and welcome to the Dream Chasers podcast. I'm Samantha, and I am here with one of Pittsburgh's greatest citizens, and I'm so excited to have Steve Rudzinski here with me. Okay, did I say it right?
Yeah, you
Rudzinski.
did actually. It's an intimidating name to look at, but it does sound exactly the way that it's spelled.
I say your last name a lot, mostly because your wife buys from us, so her name pops up. I'm like, that's Steve's wife.
Yeah, I've gotten Rudzinski a lot. They just leave out the Z, which is like the most prominent letter, I feel.
Right.
I've gotten Rudzinski. That's my favorite because it's rad.
Well, you are. That's true.
But my favorite was one time I got called Rudzinski, like they added 7 letters. I don't know where that came from, but I appreciated it. So I remember it to this day.
So my maiden name was super easy because my maiden name was Camp.
Mm-hmm.
But so Bruce's last name was Story, so now we have the Story Camp thing going on, and like you'd be surprised how often that gets jacked up. So like people just don't pay attention. Samantha gets jacked up in all kinds of ways. They forget the N, they forget there's a T, they forget there's an H. So I've seen it with E's thrown in. Like I don't know what people are thinking. So yay, good. I'm glad I got your name right. So thank you so much for being here. So for y'all, I had to harass him a little bit to get him to come because I'm a nobody and he's like award winning and stuff.
I'm still a nobody.
Well, but you're
awards,
an award winning nobody. I have 3 awards.
Okay.
You have more than that.
I don't know how many I have.
That
is not meant to be a brag.
No, it's kind of cool.
But there's just a lot of film fests, and like I put them all into a folder on my computer, but I don't memorize all of them. You know, I got the big ones up here.
What? You don't sit there and go, "Excuse me, I have one." No.
Just pull out like the list of Jericho, like the 1,000 awards, and just to go to commercial break as I read them all.
Right. That's fantastic. So and so the reason I wanted to bring you in specifically is because, and so this idea came to me. God, I think this is episode 5 now. So, often, you know, when people talk about like things that they're accomplishing, they think it's not a success unless it's, you know, if you're not, you know, on TV between 7 and 10, I don't give a crap. Right. So, but when I have, and I don't even know how we got connected on Facebook. I have no idea how this happened. I don't know if I asked you, I don't know if we have like a million friends in common. I'm not sure. But I have been so fascinated by watching your process, your simultaneously kind of insecure and yet shameless self-promotion. I love it so much. Like the whole campaign for Thirst Trap, like I love all of it. So so I was like, I have to get in the same room with this person. We need to be friends. And then I absolutely wanted you here.
Well, I appreciate being here.
For our 9 people who watch or listen to
well, don't you worry, with my worldwide fan base, you're going up to 14.
Oh my God. I owe you coffee.
Don't let me down, guys.
The other five, we need you. So the way we normally start this thing is, as all good ideas come, I had this idea in the shower because this poem just kept coming to me over and over and over again. And so we start every episode with a pseudo-dramatic reading of Harlem by Langston Hughes.
Okay.
And like my fear is one of these days the Langston Hughes estate's going to be like, stop reading his poem.
You owe us a lot
of money. But if Lorraine Hansberry can use it as inspiration, so can I. Harlem. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? So, when you, Steve Rudzinski, think of chasing dreams, what does that mean to you?
I mean, for me, chasing dreams it's a big mountain that one has to climb. There's a lot of steps to it. There's a lot of work to it. And not that my work is that much hard compared to a lot of other work that exists, but it's about focus and not losing that drive to want that dream. You know, there's so many people that are my age that also wanted to be filmmakers at all of the age periods of my life, and it feels like I'm one of the last man standing. Like, it feels like, and it's not anyone's fault. Like, I'm not saying this is a negative. I'm talking about people that, they changed their dream. Now they have a family, and they're happy with that. Or they've been working on the same script for 13 years. I don't think I know anyone right now that's doing that, so that won't be a direct attack.
Sorry, Stacy, I do.
But over the years, I've definitely met a lot of people that just fell into that trap. And again, it's nobody's fault. It's easy to fall into that trap.
Right.
And it's
they want it perfect.
Yes, and perfection is like such a huge enemy in filmmaking, in my opinion.
Yeah.
My go-to advice for a first-time filmmaker is always learn the term good enough. Because you got a whole set, you got a whole cast, you got a whole crew. Even if you're doing a little short, you got a whole project to worry about.
Yeah.
If you ever think that one scene needs to be perfect, you are screwing yourself for months.
It's one of the reasons I like the 48-hour film festival, and it's so funny because like I've written four that I've written or co-written. And I remember, like, I was writing one of them. I'm like, if I can whip one of these things out in 6 hours, why the hell am I still working on this feature? Like, why have I not gotten this done? So I think that there is something to just forcing yourself to do it. Do you know who Julia Cameron? She wrote The Artist's Way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So so it's that thing. The whole idea.
I'm terrible with names. If you name things,
I deep dove a little bit on that one. So the whole idea. The main thing I got out of The Artist's Way is the whole idea of morning pages, right? And I will admit to you, I don't do morning pages. I do a sort of mental equivalent of it. So what morning pages are, if you don't know, you get up in the morning and you write 3 pages of just shit, right? Just get that garbage out of your head, because the act of getting that garbage out of your head will get you to the good stuff. And I feel like the 48 does that, right? You do garbage and you keep making garbage movies, but you keep making them and then they just keep getting better.
Yeah.
And you're able to get to that place where you need to be.
My early career is just trash. Like it got slightly less stinky trash, and I kept going, and that's a lot of what it is.
Yeah.
A lot of guys and gals and NBs will make, their first film and might get hit with a lot of negativity. And that could shut down the creative process, and that's a bummer. You have to be shameless to a degree while also hating yourself.
Because I feel like that's very much part of all of the things.
Yes.
A good, healthy dose of self-loathing gets you through the day.
But you can't stop, and that's the point, because that is how you get better. That is how you find your own identity as an artist, as a creator, as a business person, the whole shebang. Keeping at it is the hardest but most important thing to do when it comes to anything in life, but given our topic, art. Right.
So, okay. So, perfect world. But whoever's recording next door is really loud. You guys are having way more fun than we are. What's going on over there? Now I'm kind of like going tiptoe next door. Money. I've seen you say what your budgets for your films are.
Yes.
So is the keeping it hyper low? I mean, did I see $500? Is that what I saw on one of them?
A couple of my movies are that low.
$500. Yeah. I once did an entire theater season for $10,000, and that included rent. So respect, right? So is keeping the budgets that low? Is that intentional in terms of necessity is the mother of invention, or is it just because that's what you have access to, or is it just okay, this is what I got. What can I make work with that?
It depends on the project. Obviously, I also make plenty of actual 5-figure films that have a crew and a full cast and multiple locations. $50,000 is very, very low budget, but it's not a $500 movie.
It's not $500.
But then there'll be just ideas that don't need to cost more than that, because I'm making them kind of as a joke. Amityville Christmas Vacation. Amityville Christmas Vacation was a joke idea that I had specifically because I saw that there was 40 plus Amityville movies, and there wasn't a Christmas one yet, and I had to do that. I had to make the first Christmas one.
Well, you specifically had to.
Exactly. Because if someone else did it, was going to be some attempt at a horror movie, and it was going to be dumb, and it was going to be not that funny. I was like, no, I have to make this a Christmas film.
That just happens to be.
But if I don't get this done immediately, I'll get beaten to the punch because of how many people are making Amityville movies and making like multiple Amityville movies a year. So it's like, I need to get this shot in 2 days and I need to get this cut in like 2 weeks just to make sure no one else comes out with one. Because the day we started shooting, another Amityville for another holiday got announced like that day. I was like, I need to hurry before someone else beats me.
That's amazing.
So Amityville Christmas Vacation's total budget was $300. You know, my good friend who does my, you know, music scores, my movie scores is what I meant to say. You know, on the real budgets he gets paid. You know, it's a real thing. I pay him what he is worth and what he asks for. And on this, I was just like, I'm making this for $300. Can you do something for me? He was like, yeah. And he did me a favor. And you know, I hired myself and my wife, and I used my friend's house, so that it wasn't just my own house. And the most expensive part of the film was the pajamas, which were $50. But I needed the dinosaur pajamas from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and I wasn't making it explicitly to be some sort of like hit. I knew what it was. I wasn't trying to be more than that. Don't get me wrong. I knew that because of the budget being low, we would probably do well financially on streaming because streaming pays nothing. But that wasn't like the explicit intent. And of course, that's the movie that arguably blows up the most and has got me the most press and the most attention in my career.
Funny.
The $300 shot in 2 days gag movie.
Right, because you won, what was Fangoria? Is that what it was that you won?
The Fangoria Chainsaw Award, which, if, you know, as a horror filmmaker, that's always been like the top awards for someone in horror to win, in my opinion. Like, that is our Academy Awards, that is our Oscars, and I never thought I would get one, and if I got one, I thought it would be for something like actually important, or big, or like some like genre-pushing feature, and it's for Amityville Christmas Vacation. But I love that, because I am the first-time ever winner of that award, which means I'm in the history books. I am forever on Wikipedia. If anyone ever writes about the awards, Amityville Christmas Vacation is the first ever Best Amityville, and that's assuming they bring back the award. It might be the only Best Amityville creator, and then I'm just going to say I made the Best Amityville. Like, I'm going to leave off the year and everything.
Yeah, I think you can own that.
Yes,
I feel like that's definitely something you can own. So for those of you who don't know, even more than I am, because I am a little bit of a whore for Christmas. Not like you. I mean, I will keep my Christmas tree up for 2.5 years. I have done that, but not like you. How many trees do you usually have?
I'm up to 9 this year. 9 trees, yeah. Yeah, so upstairs, the upstairs hallway has a skinny, tall Halloween tree that's just pumpkins, and it's a black tree with orange lights, and the 7-foot tall but skinny flocked tree, which is the candy tree. We just put candy ornaments on that.
Okay, that's
then
fair.
we go down into the living room. The living room will have the burb tree, which is a 4-foot tall tree of just burb ornaments, and the real tree, which is the hodgepodge of all the different ornaments.
Right.
The front porch has the Santa Claus tree, which is a 6-foot tree which just has Santa Claus ornaments. Then we go into the dining room, and on the very right you have the ocean tree, which is this teal tree covered in only like mermaids, starfish,
That's
Aquaman. And also in the dining room is the Halloween tree, which is a black tree with white lights and it's all the spooky ornaments, you know, Haunted Mansions, Night Before Christmas stuff, and anything else that we see. If you go into the basement, it is basically my Hanukkah Christmas tree, but it's all silver and blue.
Yeah.
And that's where I put my Hanukkah ornaments. And then on the back porch is just a 3.5-foot tall tree that my father and I stole from a bank when I was like 5. I think we're past the statute of limitations on that tree theft. The bank doesn't exist anymore.
Well, there you go. That's fair.
And that's just a red and green decoration tree. So just red bulbs, green bulbs, and red garland. Okay,
so 2 questions regarding your trees, because I'm fascinated by this. What came first, the trees or all the ornaments?
I mean, it's hard to say. I think it's a chicken. Well, it's not a chicken and the egg. The egg came first because dinosaurs exist. But I had a bunch of ornaments, and then we got like an additional tree, and some of the ornaments from the original tree went to it. But it's not like I got another tree because I was out of space.
Okay.
It was just like, oh, well, yeah, I have this other tree, so I'll put these ornaments over here. Now I'll get new ornaments for this tree.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, the burb tree was originally just like 4 ornaments that were on the real tree.
Right.
And has turned it to its own tree.
That's amazing. Me personally, I love Thanksgiving. That whole, like, you know, all of a sudden words are leaving. The whole, like, let's not kill natives and, you know, take their lands thing aside. I love the idea of a holiday about gratitude, right? I come from a long line of people who spend all their time going, but they have and I don't, and I'm mad about that, right? I come from a long line of that. So the idea of there being a day to practice gratitude for that day. That day I get to tell everybody how much I appreciate them and how grateful I am for them, and we're going to eat a lot of food and there's pumpkin pie involved. Like, I'm all about that. Where do you think that your near obsession, I think that's fair, with Christmas comes from?
I'm probably going to be accidentally quoting Frank Cross here, so I'm not doing it explicitly on purpose because it's exactly how I feel, but you're going to notice. It is just that concept of, it is, you know, similar to what you were saying. The whole year, it's all about me. What can I do? What can I get? What can I get for myself? Christmas is that season, and I'm talking non-denominational Christmas, you know, for
holidays. Holiday, all 27 holidays.
I am not Christian.
Right.
Which still leaves me with 97% of Christmas.
Right.
But it's... Christmas season is the one time of year where we do think about other people. That is the point of the season. It is to help someone else. It is to give, and not just presents, but also to give love, to give empathy, to give care. For a few weeks out of the whole year, we are the people we have always hoped we would be. You know, we smile a little easier, we laugh a little more, we cheer a little more, and it's this beautiful kind of real life miracle because it just happens every year. You know, I know a lot of people say like, oh, everyone's miserable at Christmas, but genuinely, in my experience, everyone is nicer at the Christmas season that I run into. Everyone's happier, everyone's smiling, and I do think part of that is you're going to get what you're giving to a degree. Yeah. Not to blame everyone. You're going to run into jerks no matter what.
Right.
I don't want to victim blame, you know, retail workers dealing with jerks.
The rest of the year, it's just there's fewer of them at once.
Yes. And there's just a lot of joy. And it is that helping other people that, you know, I wish we had all year long. Obviously, that would be the preferred real-world setting, but that isn't reality for whatever reason, so it just makes me appreciate the Christmas season more. You know, I try to keep Christmas in my heart the whole year. I really do, but I don't always. But, like, my favorite part of Christmas is buying my friends gifts. Like, I invite, like, 30 to 40 of my friends to my house for a huge Christmas party, and they all get a standalone, unique gift, and they're all wonderful, and everyone tells me I'm the best gift giver, and yeah, I am. And that's what I love about it. You know, it's that just seeing other people smile, seeing other people happy, making other people happy, and it's one of the reasons why I make movies. You know, my movies are funny. Almost all of them are, because I like making other people happy, and that's what the Christmas season is about.
That's awesome. Sorry, that was just such a good answer.
I deeply care about Christmas.
That's why I'm a terrible host. I'm like, that's such a good answer. I just want to hear Steve talk.
Because I wasn't always like that. You know, growing up, I had terrible Christmases.
Yeah,
you know, I had a single mother who was not a good mother, and who also worked, you know, double shifts. And I was, I got stuff, but I didn't have anything that actually filled holes of loneliness or sadness or depression. And it wasn't until I got to my 20s where I kind of like said like, I want Christmas to be Christmas. And like, I made the effort to like start being a little happier and like giving more and thinking about others more. And I had to make that choice to make it happen. And it has just grown and grown and grown ever since then, to the point, you know, like all of my friends refer to me as the Lord of Christmas. I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said to my face, like, Steve, I hated Christmas. Like, I despised Christmas. You made me love Christmas.
This is the second time we have been in the same space. And whenever I think of Christmas, you're one of the first people that springs to my head. So I mean, there's something to be said for that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because I think my favorite part of Christmas, and this kind of goes along with what you're saying, is I get seasonal depression. Dark is hard. Long, dark days are hard. Like, they will throw me into a pit of despair that's pretty awful. So I have trained myself to love snow, because snow makes it better, right? Snow makes everything's brighter. So I've trained myself to love snow, because as long as there's snow, then I can get through the winter, right? But then the twinkles on top of the snow, it's like Christmas.
I mean, that's part of it too. Like, that's what something I like about Christmas is that some people will say, like, "Oh, I don't like Christmas because I don't like winter." Like, I hate winter. Winter sucks. The days are shorter. It's cold. That's kind of part of what Christmas is. It's a celebration to say, like, hey, man, winter blows, so let's get really drunk and
cover ourselves with lights,
eat a bunch of stuff, and put lights outside so that it looks brighter at night. Yeah. Like, it's literally an anti-winter holiday. It's one last big hurrah before we're stuck in our houses for 3 months.
I said to my husband a couple of months ago that I felt like the best thing that came out of COVID was that people have started keeping their lights up year round. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know about you, my tree was up from November of 19 through April of last year. So was that 2.5 years? I'm like 2.5 years. I had my tree up, and it was funny because the only reason he took it down, and he only took it down temporarily, was because it was so dusty. Like, he had to take it outside. It was like, he's like, this is why we're all sick all the time, Samantha. There's so much dust on this thing. Fine, but like, he came home. I came home, and it was visceral. My reaction to the lack of the tree in the living room. But I have noticed that a lot of folks have been leaving their lights just up year round, and I like now that all the weird Edison bulbs are really in, and they're just everywhere. Like, everyone has them, and I think there's something to that. It's like, give yourself a light in that dark. You know, even if you have to fake it at first, like, give yourself a light in that dark.
That's what it is. You know, some people think that the Christmas spirit is like, or any holiday spirit, to be honest, is like this innate thing that just happens. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't have good Christmases as a kid, so I don't like Christmas. And I was like, that's fair. Like, that's valid. I'm not going to say, like, screw you for not liking Christmas, but I was the same. And everyone's different. Just because I did it doesn't mean everyone else can do it. But it's a muscle you got to start training. Right. That's all it is. Right. Same with any holiday. If you want to care about it, same with your birthday.
Same with anything. Same with anything.
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. So you said you started being a filmmaker at 12, or you decided you wanted to be a filmmaker?
I wanted to be a filmmaker at 12.
When did you start? Like, making anything?
I was like 14, 15, maybe at the oldest. And it was, I had a digital 8mm camera. So it was an 8mm, but since it was digital, it could also record audio, and like, it was on tapes as opposed to like spools. And I just started shooting awful backyard stuff, and that's what I did ever since.
So 14-year-old Steve, did he want to be an actor? Did he want to be a director?
I wanted to be a director, writer type deal, yeah.
Okay.
That is always what my main focus has been. My acting, I am also an actor, and I will act in other films. Me acting in my own films is generally a money-saving decision.
It's because you're cheaper.
Or because...
That's why I'm in all my ads, because I'm cheaper.
Or because the money people bullied me into being in the film. Right.
Well, you look great on film, so I'm sure that helps. I appreciate
that, yeah.
I'm sure that helps.
I mean, over the time, I've come to the conclusion that, like, my wife and I have come up with a new film idea that we want to shoot and get out next year. I'm not going to reveal more than that right now until we get something really written down. Right. But originally, I didn't really want to be in this film, similar to the first CarousHELL, but, like... Then I kind of thought about it, and I know that I have a lot of fans that explicitly see my movies because I'm in them at this point. I'm the brand. I'm part of the brand. Right. I'm a product, and so I'm going to end up being in the film, and I know there's going to be new random people that see this movie for the first time and are going to say, like, oh, of course, the co-writer director starring in the movie, and that's not my motivation. Right. And I don't care what they say because of the amount of fans I know that are going to buy this movie because I'm in it specifically.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I started this podcast never having actually ever listened to another podcast. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, I should probably listen to one so I know how these are supposed to go. And so I started listening to Smartless. And Judd Apatow was on one of their episodes, and he was saying that he has never been offered a film. Like every single film he's ever directed, it was his. It was his baby. He wrote it or whatever. He produced it, created it, whatever, made that happen. So I think that's, and they always say, make your own work, make your own work, make your own work. Yep. So I think you are the embodiment of what everyone says is what you have to do to make it happen. You know what I mean? That said, if, Sony Pictures or who the big ones now,
it's hard to say these days.
Nowadays, it's hard to know. Yeah,
everything's falling apart.
If one of the AMPTP, who is not the enemy anymore, as of 2 days ago, they're not the enemy anymore.
I mean, they will always be the enemy,
but they're not officially the enemy.
We're actively in war.
We're not actively in battle. If one of them was to come to you tomorrow and say, "Give us a number. What do you want to make happen?" What would you do? Do you have like something in the back of your head?
If this is, I feel like there's two different potential questions you're asking here. You're asking like, if I could make any dream movie I wanted to, sky's the limit, rights, money. That's one answer versus the more realistic, what if a studio approached me for an idea that they wanted to fund? Because if it's the second one, I'm going to come up with a good idea that I don't want to own anymore, because then it's going to be theirs forever.
Right.
Like, I would never make a CarousHEL with a Sony or Warner Brothers Discovery, especially not them right now. Just throw that in the damn trash. But
enemy, but...
But I would maybe like the idea that Aline and I are thinking about doing for next year, because it's an idea we love and we really like, but at the same time, our concept of it is a standalone one-movie type deal. It's not meant to be like a new universe or a series that we want to keep on following up on. So we would come up with an idea like what we're doing now.
Okay.
If you're asking a dream movie, it
is Dream Chasers. So
it's a toss-up between the more lesser-known. It's an old anime called Ronin Warriors or Samurai Troopers in Japan, but it's like the only anime that I like. But it's a cool mix of like Super Sentai and Japanese culture and magic and great monster designs and great villain designs and great suit designs. That's just like, it's so Super Sentai, like it's so tokusatsu, even though they're wearing suits of armor instead of a spandex.
Right.
And I would love to turn that first story arc into one single standalone film, but that would be like a $200 million type film.
Right.
My real dream is I would love to make an Ernest P. Worrell legacy sequel movie about Ernie Jr. Ernest has a son, which he only mentioned in one single time ever. I forget offhand. I need to I have it on disc, but I forget if it was in like the Hayvern show or if it was one of the commercials. But there's one single time when Ernest says, "Here's my son, Ernie Jr., and I want to make a movie about Ernie Jr."
I was so excited when you showed up at Wars with you. Oh my God. Oh, okay. I feel like it says a lot about, who you are as a person. Like if you know in the back of your head what the dream is, right? Mm-hmm. Like even if you aren't like every single day acting towards that specific thing, I think it says a lot about you, like that you have one. Like one of the inciting conversations of this thing is one of my dearest friends, and I'm not calling her out, but like one of my dearest friends, I asked her that question. I'm like, in a perfect world, what would your life look like? And she didn't know. And I've never not known. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like some people say they have like a running monologue in their head when they're talking. I don't have that. Like I don't have a running monologue in my head. Apparently that's unusual.
It is. There's a noir film happening in my brain all of the time. So maybe it's because I have a history in like journalism, but I will occasionally have, don't laugh, like newspaper headlines. Okay. Yeah.
Like front pages of newspapers, like that'll sometimes pop up in my head.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's not like a running dialogue that's going on in my head at all times. Maybe it's because I talk all day. I just get it out of my body. But yeah, so to me, the idea of not knowing is foreign. Now, that said, the thing I'm currently chasing is not what my 12-year-old dream was. 12-year-old dreams stage all day, every day.
Yeah.
I'm just adapting which stage it is. I'm starting to pursue television. So funny. Well, there's reasons, but because I'm trying to decide what the universe is asking me to do. That's kind of what it sounds like. So, half the words that you said in your dream description, I have no idea what those are.
Yep.
but the fact that you saw them so clearly, I was like, oh, and I felt like I got it.
And that's all that matters.
That's what well, not that. Who cares what I think? But right. So I'm also a big believer in you do 3 things every day towards whatever your goal is. No matter how big they are, even if it's just one thing. Like some people don't. But like, what are some things that you do that are part of your like ritual? Like every day I get up and I do this, or every week I make sure I do this or whatever towards the goals, other than just like throwing together movies in 3 days.
I mean, I definitely don't have explicit rituals when it comes to that. I mean, I'm making a feature film almost every single year.
Yeah.
So when I'm making the feature film, there's a lot of time, even if it's the little $300 ones, when it comes to coming up with the idea, the outline, writing the script, shooting it, editing the movie, but then also post-release, actually like selling it on the store, doing podcast appearances, doing convention appearances, marketing it, making images in Photoshop to post on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and that sort of thing. So then when I and that never stops, to be clear, like that is a permanent thing when it comes to being an independent filmmaker, especially. Like, I said it earlier, you are part of the product.
Yeah.
It is very similar, and I say this with love, to be clear, it's very similar to OnlyFans, where like, yes, there is other options that are maybe free on the internet, but the reason why they're supporting an independent creator is that direct connection with the independent creator. And not necessarily parasocial relationships, just like, I know this person is a human being, they aren't a corporation, I like them, so I want to support them.
We found the same thing with the soap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And in that sense, that's not quite the ritual, but that is something that I'm doing, not necessarily every day, but consistently. Okay. And when things slow down, I try to not do anything. Like when things slow down, I do try to, I'm still going to be a character online, still going to like talk and like react to fans and talk to fans. But it's nice to shut down, and I'm especially doing it during the season, just like watching Christmas movies, or if a new game comes out. I'm playing RoboCop right now, and I'm having a great time, and I don't game that often, but when I do get to, I just kind of try to focus on that and just consuming for a little while instead of always being in creating mode. It's nice to just sit down and enjoy what others have done for a while, and not have to worry about it.
So you write them, you direct them, you produce them, frequently star in them. What's your favorite?
I mean, right now, my favorite is CarousHELL 3. It is so weird, and unlike most independent horror comedies that exist, I can't think of one that is done the way the CarousHELL 3 is in terms of how the story is told, but there's a million that exist, so I'm not going to say I'm the only one or anything like that, but it's the story that we wanted to tell from the beginning to a point, but also when we came to this, the end of this road after working on the CarousHELL series since 2016, 7 years later at this point, this is what felt the most right, and it made the most sense, and a lot of fans are signed on with it and love what I did with it, and of course there's going to be people that don't like it because it's not just a slasher movie anymore, but I'm a big fan of when sequels do things completely differently as opposed to just being the same movie again. That's the kind of movies I like, that's the kind of sequels I like, and I love the fact that if you watch CarousHELL 1, I 1,000% doubt that you'd be able to predict CarousHELL 3 and what we do with it.
Okay.
And that's what I enjoy. But it's such a personal story. It's such there's a lot of heart, there's a lot of sincerity, there's a lot of like genuine, heartwarming stuff in this killer unicorn, now killer carousel rabbit movie with an insane person that survived the first film basically being the Ben Affleck Batman.
Right.
Which I also expected fans to hate me for, because everyone kept saying, is Joe coming back? 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 So I finally said, okay, Joe's coming back, but he's no longer the character you loved. Because why would he be after getting his eye carved out? He's very mad now.
Well, yeah. He has things to make right.
But yeah, CarousHELL 3 is my favorite movie right now. But, it can change week to week, month to month. So if you ask me this question again in a year, maybe I wouldn't think that anymore.
Right.
Or maybe I still will. I don't know.
So I will admit that because I don't watch anything. Please don't take it personally. I don't watch anything, but I did watch, is it Meowy Christmas? Yes, I did watch your Kitty Christmas.
Thank you.
Because I want to make sure. So, I fully 100% admit, horror's not my thing. Mm-hmm. So which is why I avoid those things. Even when I'm in them, I don't like to watch them. I don't watch most things I'm in. So don't be offended. So even within Meowy Christmas, Lloyd Kaufman always springs to mind when I think of you. Okay. And not because of the style of the movie, but because of the way in which you make these things happen. I got to meet him 1,000 years ago. When he was promoting Still My Movie, or Still This Movie. Oh God, Still This Book, I think it was called. Where he was talking about basically like guerrilla filmmaking, which I feel is 100% what you do. Mm-hmm. What gives you the idea to go, oh, I have this cat. I should make a movie.
The Meowy movies exist because of spite. I'm going to say that. So my friend Bill Murphy and I had a podcast at the time. Okay. Movie Films with Bill and Steve. I think it may still be up somewhere on YouTube or somewhere. I don't know. Don't want to guarantee it, but we would review movies sometimes because he was a big movie fan and I made movies, and that was an interesting dynamic. CarousHELL got picked up by a distribution company who outright said, we won't be able to release this for a while because we have a backlog, but we really wanted this movie. I'm like, okay, yeah, fine. I can't really make another actual 5-figure film when the other one can't even be really released and make a cent. So right. I was just kind of doing this podcast, not making anything, not being creative. And we so happened to watch multiple talking animal holiday films that kept making us very angry because they were so milquetoast and uninteresting and boring and just like Home Alone ripoffs, but not interesting or funny or doing anything different. And at the same time, these were all they were being produced by ABC Family. So they have 6 figures because they're shooting in this mansion in California, and they have Dean Cain in it, and it was The Dog Who Saved Christmas and The Dog Who Saved Halloween. That's what broke us. It was that one, too. The Three Doggeteers was great. The Three Doggeteers was hilarious because I knew it was what it wanted to be. That was like a shining star in this hell that we put ourselves into. But I got so mad that I literally, while on the podcast, said, screw it. I have a cat and $500. I'm going to make a Home Alone ripoff, except we're going to make it weird. And that's why Meowy Christmas is about a talking cat that watches Alex Jones videos all day because only a cat is dumb enough to believe him. Not even the rat believes him. Not even the rat.
Just the cat.
So that was that was one of the only movies I made just as a product, not explicit, oh, this is something I really want to do. I have this idea. It's no, I all these garbage movies make money. I'm going to make some money off of this, and it did.
Because you said it's one of your most successful.
And then I made a Meowy Halloween, which is also one of my most successful films of my entire career because PG horror with cats seems to clean up very well on streaming and at horror conventions. That is my pro tip to anyone that wants to make money as a filmmaker: make a talking cat. PG horror
for $300.
And that one I did really want to do that because I've always loved PG horror. During my career is horror. I grew up on horror. It's my favorite genre. During the Halloween season, I watched PG and G rated horror for the 2 months because I have a soft spot for those. I like seeing what they do with it.
What does that entail?
Ernest Scared Stupid, Paranorman.
Okay.
Even Hocus Pocus. Movies that are meant to be spooky and meant to have scares, but are also meant to be seen by kids as the main focus. Okay. But that's also why, Meowy Halloween is made for kids, but I call it a family film, not a kids film, because there's also 47 references to R-rated horror films throughout the whole thing, so the adults that watch the movie have a kick being wait, did this guy just...
All the family films have something for mom and dad.
Did this guy just open a puzzle box and then we heard chains and then he disappeared for the rest of the movie? Is that character in hell in this children's movie? Yes, the answer is yes.
That's so great. That's so great.
And then I made 3 and 4 just to end the story because 1 and 2 were so successful that it would have been so easy for me to fall into the pit of just doing talking animal movies for the rest of my life.
Well, you don't want to be a Saw franchise for kitties?
I'm fine with that. But I kind of made my point with it.
Okay.
So since it had fans and the fans did want more, I was like, okay, let me do Meowy St. Patrick's Day, Meowy Christmas Vacation, which are combined into one film on Tubi, just a Meowy Christmas Vacation. I call that the Endgame cut. But I wanted to have this talking animal franchise that actually has an ending that like brings everything together, because no other talking animal franchise has that to my knowledge.
I'm not well versed on talking animal franchise.
I unfortunately am. But I and like 3 and 4 weren't as big of hits as 1 and 2. 1 and 2 still sell more and are watched more online, and that's fine. But like I gave the big fans like a conclusion. Which
that's fair.
Usually you don't get that in this sort of thing. And then I can pat my hands. And that's not to say that those characters are gone forever. Obviously, Wally Griswold from the Meowies is the star of Amityville Christmas Vacation.
Okay.
Because we've made Wally our Ernest P. Worrell. We can put Wally into any adventure and just plug him in, and we have this established character that I already know how to write and know how to play. And he can be doing anything. He'll be in another Christmas rom-com before, I'm retired. At least one more, if not multiples.
Oh my God, you're talking about retiring. So you do a lot of cons, and festivals and things. The idea of going to a con is like my personal circle of hell. So I don't do markets. I can't. I love people when I can control it. Right. So, how do you like those things? How have you found being face to face with fans that aren't necessarily people you know? How does that all go down for you?
Well, I will say that in this era of things like ad blockers and people that hate self-promotion on websites and people no longer looking at no longer following review websites like a Horror Society or something. They don't really follow those websites as much as they used to 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's very, very hard to find new people, new audience members because of these things. You'll be on streaming, but at the same time, a lot of people use streaming as very disposable content. That's what streaming has turned movies into. People that love CarousHELL 1 and will tweet about loving CarousHELL 1 will only do that, and they don't read the credits, they don't know who made it, they don't look up my other films. One of my a very, very big fan of mine a few years back that loves CarousHELL 1 and 2 at the time, and when I posted about the cat movie, they were just like, wait, you've made cat movies? And it's if you're how do you not know that? With how much I've talked about it, with how much I've posted about that. But that's the reality of these algorithms, of ad blockers, of all this stuff. Going to a convention where people make eye contact with you and have to hear you speak is it feels like the only way these days for an indie filmmaker to actually meet new people and make new fans. So it feels like such a vital aspect of this business, even if you just want to focus on making movies. Too bad, Bucko. You better go get some vendor booths before you're known enough to be a guest, because this is the only way you're going to sell.
And they're not cheap, those things.
No, they can be very expensive. I've been doing it so long that at this point I'm invited as a guest to a lot of conventions, thankfully. But there's still, some cons I got to pay to get into. I ain't a big shot. Yeah. And those fees can start going up. And I enjoy it for the most part. I mean, it's physically exhausting, because you got to wake up pretty early, to get there that first day or, the day before. The Saturday is such a long day because it starts so early and then it goes into the night. And usually you got to mingle a bit after the show to, keep on good terms with your friends and fans. And then, Sunday is another long day, and it's tiring, and I'm so happy to get home by the end of it, but at the same time, it's still a blast to be there, at times to have a line of people wanting to meet me or pick up my films, get to talk to someone who's brand new, who has no idea who I am, and then they buy several of my films, and then I see them tweet or post on Facebook or on Letterboxd about how they actually liked it. They rolled the dice on my movies and they enjoyed it. So it's a cool experience. I like doing it. I also like getting home and taking off my shoes and petting my cat.
Yes. So do you just do Pittsburgh area ones, or how far afield will you go?
I've done, Nashville, North Carolina, Cincinnati. I did one in California a while back. I did one in Washington a long while back, or Oregon. One of those two states up in the top left.
Washington, Oregon. There's
one of those two.
Idaho. There's I used to live over there. That's the only reason I know. I'm not that good at geography. I just used to live over there.
I want to try to get into more cons further into the country to, again, try to meet new fans, feeling like I kind of plateaued in this area, and it's hard to reach the new people, as I've discussed. But it's hard to figure out which cons are worth the travel to. And then the ones that I know for a fact are worth the travel to are so hard to get into, either as a guest or even just as a paying vendor, because they have such a waiting list.
Right.
So I want to try to expand, but at the same time, I keep on being so busy making movies.
Right.
That it's hard to kind of like sit down and like, okay, this money that I would have put into making a film and selling it and advertising it, I can put into flying to 2 conventions this year. But I need to stop making movies.
Right. Because that's the hazard of it being you, is that you can't be in 7 places at once.
Yeah.
That's the hazard.
And that's why some people go through a distributor still, because that way now their movie is at like 20, 50, whatever conventions where that distributor is going to, and maybe finding your movie and buying it and finding out about you.
But they don't find out about
Most of the time they don't. Most of the time they don't. I mean, you bring up Lloyd Kaufman, and I can't tell you how many filmmakers I know who, like, maybe Troma picked up their movie, and, like, so many people only refer to it as a Troma film.
Right.
Like, they have never once, like, credited it as the actual director or looked up the actual director. They're just like, yep, that's a Troma, and I like Troma, and it's just like, other people made this. Like, they have their own team of their own films. If you like that, maybe see what they're like. But that's the reality of filmmaking these days. It's hard. Well, that's why I have to be such a character.
I think that's true about a lot of things, because when we first started the soaps, like, we were on Etsy, and people don't realize that all those different stores on Etsy are individual businesses. Right? And so they're like, oh, I bought it from Etsy. Well, no, you bought it from, Moon Made Pies or whatever.
Who hosts on Etsy.
Who are on Etsy. Right. Yeah. So it's a tricky thing. Same happens with Amazon. Because, like, Amazon as a company is one thing, but there are thousands and thousands and thousands of small businesses on that platform that, that use, but people don't think of it that way. They're like, oh, I bought it from Amazon. Not that I bought it from this guy in Kentucky, you know. I think that's pretty standard. I have noticed that a lot, like, I'm finding or refinding things, but I have been finding things that have interested me because they've been doing this thing on TikTok where they'll, like, post, like, a little 90-second scene from a TV show or from a film. I'm like, oh shit, what's that? Is that something that you do, or have you thought about doing that?
I've tried doing that, but TikTok is finally that technology that's making me feel like an old man. Like, that's finally the tech. Like, I've been real good at keeping up with everything. TikTok is finally the one I do not understand. It
annoys me.
One of my clips went viral because someone froze the one singular frame where we replaced the lunchbox actor with a dummy, and it's very fake. We didn't care because it's there for 1/24th of a second, but someone with lightning fast pause abilities paused on it and laughed at that, which is fine because it does look silly, but that got like hundreds of millions of views on TikTok. It got reshared in, like, Brazilian Instagram specifically. It got like hundreds of thousands of reactions on Twitter. And of course, that led to, I think, one sale.
Oh my God.
And I think my numbers watched on Tubi, like, I think I went from getting paid $6 the month before to now getting $13.
Oh my gosh, you're so fancy.
Going that viral did almost nothing for me.
Okay.
So, like, I've tried uploading a few clips from the carousels to TikTok as is, like, just like a scene or like a kill or something. And, it gets like 1,000, 2,000 views, like 20 reactions. And I think it's just because that's not what TikTok is for.
Right.
But that sort of stuff doesn't seem to do anything for me. It's a different audience than my stuff that I'm making.
Yeah.
Especially with the younger crowd now not liking nudity at all or sexuality, and the carousels are definitely not good for people that don't like that.
No. Well, everyone's got their thing.
It's surreal, though. I will say it's surreal because, it's like I've seen that, like, discussion on all the social medias, just like the younger generations don't like sex scenes. They think sex scenes are pointless in art and films and shouldn't be there at all because porn exists. Never mind that's completely different. But it was interesting seeing that.
There'd be some overlap.
Yeah. It was interesting seeing that discussion about what state the industry is and audiences are in. and now getting reviews from like 15-year-olds being like 1 star, 0 stars because that sex scene was gross. And that's it. Like, they just did the fact that there was a sex scene. And like, if you folks don't know my movies, my sex scenes are cartoons. Like, this is not exploitation. This is not anything like that. It's not that sexualized, honestly, even though it's about sex.
It's like you lean into the ridiculous.
It's meant to be silly and fun and funny. The most serious romance scene in any of my films is actually in CarousHELL 2, and that's between a man and the carousel unicorn, and it's meant to be a legitimately romantic love scene, and that still wasn't good enough for some of these people, so it's surreal. I'm just gonna say that. It makes me feel like a real filmmaker that I'm getting hate for it.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, that's how you know that you made it, is when people are like, what the hell, who does he think he is? That's how you know that it's the thing. Okay, so let's perfect world for a second. Okay. Getting to make the movies that you want to make and not having them dictate, because we all know what happens once they get involved. Where would you like to see this little journey go? Other than just getting to pay your mortgage. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, that's a big thing. The thing with perfection is that it is unknowable, and yet it's always around us all of the time.
Right.
So when you say, the terms of like perfect world, perfect ending, perfect life, it's so hard for me to answer that because a lot of people would argue what I'm doing right now is already perfect. Obviously, I would like to make more money.
Money's nice.
I'd be happy with keeping my career at the same level right now, except getting to pay the mortgage way easier with it.
Yeah.
Making more than 30 a year, struggling really hard uphill would be swell. I mean, if I could have a career, I always say that like a couple of my, like 2 or 3 of my top guys I always think of, like Sam Raimi, John Arcieri, Robert Rodriguez, Zack Snyder, but more so when it comes to like how he does what he wants to do, no matter what a loud part of the internet yells and complains about, and how his entire cast loves him and will die for him.
Yeah,
that's hard to find in the industry. But like that sort of Sam Raimi path of like making his weird, wacky movies when he wants to, and maybe a couple of times filming something for a studio. Mm-hmm. I want to work for studios less than Sam does, personally speaking.
Right.
But he's still doing what he wants to do. Like, he still is producing Evil Dead stuff, but from the show to the new movie, like, he's still keeping that alive from when he was a 19-year-old kid making the first Evil Dead movie. He's still doing Evil Dead stuff, and that's awesome. I would love to do CarousHELL 10 in, 40 years from now. And like keeping everything canon too, just like continuing to make more in this insane series, except now I have all this Hollywood money. That would be really cool and fun, but at the same time, that's not necessarily like the goal. Like, it's not like I will feel I have failed if I don't get to direct for Sony or, Disney ones. I don't care explicitly about that. It's just more so if I can get to make that level of something, that would be really, really cool and fantastic. But that's not necessarily the goal. I don't know how to explain it better.
This is different for everybody. Like, I always say, to me, there's no difference having your life's goal being, I want the perfect garden versus I want to win a Tony Award. You know what I mean? Like, to me, they're the same. It's just like, what are you doing towards that? You know what I mean? So like, you don't have to have some weird grandiose goal. Like, getting to keep doing the thing you're doing and make a living at it, that's amazing.
That's the thing too. It's just like, it sounds dumb and silly and dumb. But I said it earlier, Amityville Christmas Vacation, gag movie, super small. I legitimately have made horror history with that film. Like, I legitimately did win the first ever Fangoria Chainsaw Award, a major award in the genre of filmmaking that I love so much. I was the first one to get that.
There's nothing dumb about that.
And that's huge. Like, that is huge, even though it's a gag movie, even though, it's not getting me these massive accolades. But, like, I've already accomplished so much, and I'm hopefully going to keep accomplishing things. So I don't know what that leads to. I don't know where it crashes, if that's what happens. But I had a goal of making a movie a year for 10 years straight, and I surpassed that goal. Now I'm just kind of riding the river,
Yeah. But so okay, so here's one of the things that I love about you. And again, this is like the second time we've ever been in the same room. So many folks, I have personal friends, all they talk about is, but I want to. And you're like, but I'm going to. And that is huge. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like whatever the end result is less important. It's the getting up and I'm going to do this thing and then actually, doing the thing. And then you get crazy ass awards for something you threw together in like no time with no money, but you're like, nope, I'm going to get it done. Oh, no, I have a timeline. I got to get it done. Got to get it done. And I think so often because they expect shit from us, we stop ourselves and we judge ourselves and we say that our things are stupid, but they're not because you got up and you did the thing. Mm-hmm. And so I am personally immensely impressed with, and even though the thing you do is not my thing, it doesn't have to be my thing. I give a shit. I'm so incredibly proud of the fact that you're like, fuck it. This is my thing. I'm doing my thing. And there's not enough of that.
Yeah, like, I don't think I'm a great filmmaker. I don't think I'm better than other filmmakers or better than the people that want to be a filmmaker but haven't made anything yet. Mm-hmm. What I will say that I think my best feature is as a filmmaker is that I get it done.
Right.
And everyone that's like me shares that. Like, that's the difference. It is that I won't get you a movie. It's like, I need to get this done for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And I've said that a lot over the years too. I've said that in some other interviews or discussions where it's just like, at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, what's better, making a bad movie or making no movie? And in my opinion, making the bad movie is way better because you'll get better, you'll have something, you'll get feedback, and you'll have something to sell, even if it's bad.
Right.
Versus,
because some people love that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it may not success for the reasons you want it to, but it may still succeed, and it may not succeed, and that's okay too. You learned, and you can work with that, and maybe down the road that's part of your library now, and it might make you money 10 years from now. You don't know.
I don't know for a fact, but I would bet any amount of money that my ex-husband probably has all your movies because he lives for those.
Yeah.
Like the kinds of movies that you make, my ex-husband had shelves of them. Mm-hmm. There was like nuns and Dracula and like all kinds of weird shit. Like he loved, like I would walk in, what the hell are you watching? But he loved those. And I think that in specificity, that's where you're going to find, your people, because like the more specific you are, actually the more general you are. So the more specific you are in your little version of your little weird with your little carousel horses going around doing awful things, you're going to have that audience. And the fact that you keep doing it is badass.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All I'm saying. How often do you get told you do too much?
Not enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
I deal with the fans that are just like, what's next? And it's like, get off my ass.
Oh,
I
God.
just released this. What I'm doing next is continuing to sell this. There's a lot of people that don't understand how much work it takes that consistently are like, well, okay, what's next? I'm like, I'm still trying to make this one a success.
Yeah.
And there might be something next, but I'm not worried about that right now. A few years back, I said, I might take the next year off. And immediately there's like 10 people being like, no, you shouldn't take a break. You're awesome. You should keep going. And I'm just like, I appreciate you think I'm awesome, but I've been doing this for, like now I'm on 13 years of making movies, going on 14. I'm allowed to sit down.
You
pricks.
Sit down.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
I was so sure that because I get that shit all the time. I get you do too much. You need to take a break. You need to slow down. You need to stop. Who do you think you are? You need you're making us all look lazy. I'm like, I don't do anything. So I was 100% sure you were going to say that.
My fans, bless them, but yeah, they're very much they don't stop.
Give us more Steve.
Yeah, that's what seems to be the takeaway. There have definitely been a couple of people that said, you should take more time between films, but at the same time, it's just like, this is working out.
Yeah, as long as you keep loving it.
Yeah,
that's what matters.
It's miserable, but.
Well, yeah. Sometimes it's. So I started taking these these casting director workshops because. So the universe has been telling me I should do television, like, and it's the weirdest thing in the world because like I don't watch. I don't watch. But like when I go to theater auditions in DC and I have a theater director go, you should do television again, I feel like, okay, fine. So sometimes I have classes that start at 10 o'clock at night because they're in LA and I'm on Zoom at 1:30 in the morning trying to act in my basement.
Yeah.
But you can't get to where the thing is that you're going if you don't sometimes have to sit in your basement at midnight getting it done. So I think that people who don't understand that work ethic that's required to do a dream, I think people think work and all they think about is the day job. Mm-hmm. They don't realize that even dreams are work.
Well, I will say, at least for me and a lot of other filmmakers I personally know, it's sometimes, it's still work ethic, but it's also fear driving us, and it's the fear of no longer being relevant. Yeah, if I waited a couple years to make my next movie, maybe that'll mean this movie will simmer more, get more fans, and make more sales, and then I can make the next one bigger, or people will forget about me. If I have something new every year, that can't happen. If I'm doing, podcast interviews once a year, doing the conventions once a year, I'm consistently in people's minds. And that helps with when I do get the new fans, because again, I've been doing this for so many years. I have a library. It's so easy to sell 3 to 6 movies to a new person if they are interested and heard good things. And that's part of the thing that scares me about taking a break, honestly, is that I don't think I would lose all of my fans. I don't think that. But at the same time, it is just that the fear of not being relevant. Yeah. And in this industry where there is so much content, so much art that exists, right, you need to try to stay at the top of it, treading water the best you can.
Well, I have nothing but happy vibes, and I want it to be everything that you want it to be. Throwing all the vibes to you and all the peeps and the kitties and the weird animations. And I appreciate you coming so much. I know that you have a really busy weekend, and so to come and spend time talking about this stuff with me, it means a lot. So
I appreciate being here. Basically, I'll be going straight home and going back to working on the new screenplay.
There you go.
But this was a pleasure. It was very wonderful being here, and let me be a carny.
Go be a carny
for the new your 9 viewers.
that
14, may not know me.
I was promised an extra 5.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the ones that don't know me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The original 9. Okay.
Exactly. So, I'm Steve Rudzinski. You may have heard about that. And if you want to check out my films, I have a huge library of weirdness. They range from $500 to, 5-figure larger films. They range from PG to R-rated. Almost all of them are live-action cartoons, though. So you won't like all of my movies, but if you like one, there will probably be more that you enjoy. I have a physical store. I'm sorry, I meant to say I have a store for my physical media. I don't want people to think there's a place they can walk up to. I have a store for my physical media, DVDs, Blu-rays, deck building games that we've designed based on our films, and that is silverspotlightfilms.com. That's where you can pick all that up. If you don't do physical, I know a lot of folks don't even have a player anymore, which as a cinephile weird. Is like, I don't understand that.
It's so weird. It's like people not having books.
One of the biggest selling points of the PlayStation 5 to me wasn't the games. It was the fact that I had a 4K Blu-ray player now. I was so excited.
Yeah.
But if you don't do physical, I do have a Patreon where for like $3 a month, you get all of my modern films, or for $5 a month, you get all of my trash from when I was a teenager that I don't want on there, but my fans went on there because they hate me, and a bunch of exclusives that I made for the service, like Bill and I had a really great 2-hour-long introspective discussion about the Meowy franchise after we ended it, and that's only on the $5 Steve Buster, because who else would want to watch it? But that's stevebuster.com. So if you just want to subscribe, for 1 month, 2 months, you can save all the links. They're like private YouTube links. You can bookmark them, save them, keep them. I don't mind. Just don't share them, please.
Because he's trying to make a buck, guys. Come on.
And if you don't want to gamble any money, right now, except for CarousHELL 3, all of my movies are on Tubi. Tubi TV is a streaming service that is free, and it is only ads-based. Even if my movies were on Tubi, it'd be my favorite streaming service, because there's so much weird stuff on there. It feels like a mom-and-pop rental store.
I have not been there.
It's wonderful. Like, you will see, like the major new MCU, Hollywood big release right here, and then right next to it some weird like sub $10,000.
There's just ads.
Yeah, and it's just ads. So please, you can watch all my movies on there. You can try them out there. Don't use an ad blocker. Come on, guys. Like, seriously. I'll get like a nickel. I'll get like a nickel if you watch my movies there, but at least let me have that nickel. It's like 2 minutes worth of ads. I worked for months on these movies.
Yeah. You deserve to have your nickel.
But those are the 3 places to find my stuff. So if you want to try me out, Tubi, if you want to give me money, the Steve Buster, and if you want to actually physically own the stuff forever, silverspotlightfilms.com, baby.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you guys for spending your time with us while we're doing this whole thing. And we will see you next time. Keep on dreaming.